Hello, I'm actually stood inside the barn. It's nice and light because we've got a lot of the roof off now. So the next job now is removing a lot of the, well, all of the floor eventually, but this end of the floor I'm stood on at the moment, the one little section, I'll show you in a minute, one little section of the whole thing that's fairly solid, but most of it's rotten and there's pockets of rot all over the place, so it's, you know, absolutely lethal really. So all of that we're going to strip out, and then about half of it eventually we'll put back. We'll put back a section in the middle that probably about 30 odd foot, so about 30 by 20, and then we'll have a couple of sort of galleried spaces either side. We've got out, as I say, a lot of the roof, but once I've done this section I'm in now, I'll be able to put a scaffold up and get the middle section of the roof out and start replacing the rotten purlins. There's about 6 of them to replace. And then as soon as that's done, we can get the rafters on and get boarded out, and then we'll, you know, at least we'll be getting watertight, which would be really good if we can get that done. I don't know, before the end of this year anyway. Time's in short supply at the moment, but hopefully we'll have a bit more time in a couple of months to work on it and be able to crack on. So now I'll show you what's the state of the floor now. I've taken a bit out. So you can see there, quite a bit's been removed at this end. Those 2 planks there, that's the bit I'm stood on. That's pretty much the only. And you can see the end of it's chewed up, but the bit in the middle's pretty solid. Out of the whole floor, that's about it. And then I'm going to get rid of these bits next, down here, which are just covered in the slate and so on that's come off the roof. And then going up there. So this is the front of the barn now that we've removed most of the tiles on the lower section, and then if you go up to the ridge, you can just about see the camera doesn't cope with the light very well, but you can see there the middle section's got to be removed, and that's what I've got to get a scaffold up for. And then coming round, that's the back wall. You can see there that fairly white looking pillar. That's the new pillar that we've had built to strengthen up that wall. There was some concrete there where they obviously narrow, as well as taking down. If you remember in an earlier video I said they'd actually raised up the wall. They'd also widened the door, so we've put the door back to probably what was its original width. And we've just then put a lime render over that. We've just done that in block work and lime rendered it. And then that's going to support that crook kind of over there. That's going to support that. And then this is where the wall's been taken down and rebuilt properly by the mason. So that's all been done. Yeah. So essentially now it's a question of getting this bit of floor out, and then getting these joists out. And then it'll be get everything cleared down, you know, all the rubbish cleared off on the floor downstairs, and then I'll get the scaffold up. So that's what I'm going to be working on for the next, well, however long it takes. That's one of the reasons this wood's all had it. All the beetle. After a little bit after that. See, that's the floorboards. That's not the joists, that's the floorboards. I've never seen any that thick. I think, a bit hard to say. I think they're just because of the weight of them. I think they're probably larch, which is actually pretty rot resistant. But I think they've been sat wet for decades. And you can see the minute in the corner over there, or that bit there where they're dry, they're still pretty sound. I mean, you know, they're that thick that they still put up a bit of a fight. You know, that's a wasp. Give them a bit of a whack with a, you know, with a fairly hefty sledgehammer in order to get them to release off the nails. I mean, they are rotten all over, but it would have been, it would have been a tremendously strong floor when it was built. I think the carts probably put tractors in here. I think that's why they raised that door up there and you know went to so much trouble to alter the pitch of the roof, which also in the process ruined the roof. But they wanted to get some sort of big machinery in here, and when you look at the strength of the floor, you can see, you know, as I say, before any of it was rotten, it would have held it. And they're relatively short spans. The floor joists, which are they probably are about 2x7s, but they're not very far. Well, they vary, but they're mostly quite close together. In the house, they're 2.5 foot apart, whereas here they're a lot closer together, and in the middle they've got, and that bit's of steel, most of it's got a wooden beam going all the way along, and it's not that big a span, it's about a 10-foot span, so it was built to be very, very strong and to bear a lot of weight, and you can see from, you can see from those floorboards that are in there, they're very, very solid, very thick, and they've got tongues both sides, and then they've inserted kind of beads down the middle to lock them together. So they've really done a proper job when it was built. And then in this one, they've got a thicker beam, and they've rebaited it into that beam. So, which when that was new, solid oak would not have been the easiest job in the world. We'd probably with hand planes did that, or chisels. So. But hole in the roof, and that's what you end up with. Sits wet for 30 years and you've got no floor left. So yeah, we will be taking the whole. You can see there's a load of it's a bit of a dumping ground in here. It's not too bad actually. We looked at some of the houses we looked at, the barns were practically to the roof, so and most of it's just wood that we can either probably just burn for the most part. Obviously not the painted stuff, but yeah, the far end of it is clear, and that end of the roof's pretty good, and that floor, there are a few holes in that floor, but I think they're more like where something's been put through them, rather than rot as such. But anyway, the whole lot's coming out. So I'm just going to saw these in a couple of places, and then smash them out with a sledgehammer from below, and that'll be all that floor gone. I'm just going to do it with a handsaw. I haven't really got anywhere safe. I'm happy standing with a chainsaw, that'll be a lot easier. But yeah, it's just easier. Well, it's not easier, but it's a damn sight safer than balancing on two joists and wielding a lethal weapon. So I'll just do it with a handsaw. It shouldn't take too long. Well, that's got the floorboards out, which is good on that end. So I'm going to have a good clear up downstairs, all that old floorboard timber and various other rubbish. Clear all that out of there. I'll put the scaffold up, saw through all of those joists, drop them. Unfortunately, every one of them's got rotting. There's a few sort of sections that, there's a few sections that might be long enough to be worth having, but it's such a shame really. And they're all oak. Oh, they'll burn. Firewood if nothing else. So today's job is sawing the joists out. I've got the scaffold up so I can stand on it now and work more easily, so I'll just go through them quickly with a chainsaw. So I get them sawn out and removed, and then that's the first bit of floor done, and then that end of the bar I can get the scaffold up and get the slates off the roof, so which will make it a lot safer to be in here, which is great. So I'm going to crack on with sawing them up now. I've got the plastic sewer pipe down there and I don't want to drop this on it, hence the messing about. So it's a lot easier to saw them up into short bits just because they don't weigh much. And most of them have got bits of rotting all the way along, so they're not, they're firewood basically. This one though, it's probably about an 8-foot length that's not got any rotting, so I'm going to get that down in one hit. Yeah, and I think I'll be able to use that for something. Just got to move the scaffold first. Right, I'm just going to saw out the rest of them. And then we'll be doing some more clearing up here of the next bit.